Last but not least in this using text section, you would also use text to place it on an AutoCAD title block. Now you'll notice I'm in the Annotate tab on the ribbon, as you can see there, and you can see I'm in the Training Text Style. Now what I've done in the drawing for you is in the Layout 1 tab, I've actually created a basic AutoCAD title block for us to use. You don't need to know the whys and wherefores at this particular point in time how I created it. We will cover that later on in the course. Now, the idea being is everything in model space is all one-to-one, full size. So the text top right in the offices that we placed there is 350 millimeters high. And that will get scaled in a viewport, in a layout tab, in a title block. So we'll look at that later on. What I want to do is take us into layout 1 and look at framing text appropriately in a title block. So if you come down to layout 1 here, bottom left corner, and click on layout 1, you'll see that there's a title block already set up for you. And you can see there's a viewport there showing the whole drawing, all the grids, all the dimensions and everything else. Now I'm not worried about the actual drawing in the title block, it's framing the text around the drawing. So let's have a look at that and how that works. So just pan and then zoom in on the bottom left corner here, like so. And you can see there's a line there that I've placed. We're going to use the end point of that line to actually physically justify some text to the left on the title block. So this is how you would frame it. You'd place lines, perhaps place a construction line like this so that you can utilize the end point of it for your text. So I'm going to place some single line text on here and I'm just going to place the word title block. So I'm going to go up to the single line text flyout here, make sure I select single line text. And then when I come in, it's asking for the start point of my text. Now you'll notice I can justify or select the style on the command line. So make sure you right click and select justify. And on that justify list, you want to select left. We're going to go for the default left justification. And then it asks for the start point of the text. Make sure your object snaps are on, use the end point of the line there and click. And because obviously the text style is set to 0, it's asking us for the height of the text. It remembers the 350 that we used previously. Now, we don't want it 350 high. 350 millimeters high on an A1 sheet in this case would actually be over half of the sheet size. So the text would be a little bit too high. Actually, the text needs to only be 15 millimeters high in this particular area on the title block, which is about 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to type in 15 millimeters there and press enter. Then it'll ask for the rotation angle. Again, we're going to the right, to the east. So the 0, the default is what we want. We press enter again. And there's our little cursor. And you can see that that sits nicely in that space there on the title block. So I now type title block, like so. And I press enter once. I don't want any more text, so I just press enter again to close the single line text command. Bang. There's my single line text. Nice and quick and easy. Now if I zoom out slightly, you can see that that's framed beautifully there. Now the reason it is I've set this up so that this line here is 45 millimeters above this line here. The text is 15, so it's got 15 millimeters above and below. So it looks nice and even. So you might do that in inches. You might have 5/8 of an inch, 5/8 of an inch for the text, 5/8 of an inch above. Depends on what units you're working in. Now panning again with the title block, and just zooming out a bit and panning again, you can see the top of the title block, top right, there's an area for notes. So what I'm going to do there is just leave that space like that, zooming and panning, and I'm going to use the multi-line text. Now the trick here is to remove the object snaps. You don't want to get your multi-line text right in this corner or right in this corner. So I'm going to switch off object snap tracking and object snaps at this point in time. And then what I'm going to do is place a multi-line text area in here. It can be extended at any time to be made bigger if I want to. So again, I now go over here to the Annotate tab on the ribbon, into the text panel, click on the flyout and select multi-line text. When I come in, you can see that there's the 15 millimeter high text. Now I can change the height of the text at any time. Don't worry if it goes outside the title block. You'll see why in a moment. Now I'm going to use the crosshair, get roughly in the corner there, click, and just drag the text area so it fits inside the notes area on the title block like that, and click again. Now the text is quite big. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to change that in a moment and I'll show you how. But I'm just now going to type notes in capitals and then perhaps put a colon, press enter. And the nice thing about notes and multi-line text is I can now go up here to the paragraph panel on the text editor here, click on the flyout, and I want some numbered text. So there's my first number there, and I might put this is the notes column. Now I've just started typing and it's all gone a bit crazy. Why is that? You have to click back in the text editor area. It's a very common mistake, and I've deliberately done it to show you. But when you change to numbered here, you then have to come back in here and click in the text area just to make sure that you're working in the right place. Otherwise, AutoCAD thinks you're going to click on something else on the ribbon. Now, if I type, can you see this is the notes column? Like that. And I'll just do a full stop. When I press enter, notice it automatically drops the text area down for however much text I need. So I'll put this is my drawing. Now, obviously, this is not the sort of thing that you would put in a notes column. But what I'm trying to show you is how the text works. Now, we're in multi-line text, so I can just move away from the text, click outside, and it places the text. Now, if I zoom out, you can see that that text is way too big for that notes column. So we need to make it much, much smaller. So I'm going to select the text, double click on it, and then I'm going to highlight it in the editor like that. Highlight all of it. And then what I can do up here is I can come in here now into the style box and change the actual height of the text. So I'm in the text editor tab on the ribbon, which is the contextual tab that comes up when I double click on the multi-line text. Change the height of that to say 3.5 millimeters, and I press enter, and all of the text updates. I click away from the text and it's edited. If I zoom in now, can you see that text is much, much more sensible? Now you can see that there's some spacing issues going on there, so I'll double click on the text again, and what I can do there is change the spacing of that. Can you see here? I can change the spacings and the paragraphing and the columns and so on. Now don't worry about the spacings too much there, that can be updated at another time. But obviously the text height has to be sensible to fit into the actual title block itself. And what we'll do as we work through this course is I'll show you how to set up a title block, place the text accordingly. Now this obviously isn't spaced properly. I haven't obviously justified it. I haven't underlined it or made any text bold or anything like that. So it doesn't look amazing, but if I just double click to zoom extents now, you can see, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see how that text is nice and neatly framed in a title block. And that's how you frame your text in a title block in AutoCAD 2017.